Julia's world stopped the moment she heard his voice. She was standing beside the hospital bed, smoothing her son's hair as the monitors beeped softly. The pediatric ER smelled of antiseptic and fear. She'd been here for 6 hours, waiting, praying, willing the fever to break, when the door opened and that voice, deep and steady and heartbreakingly familiar, cut through the chaos. "Julia." The sound ripped through 5 years of silence. Her fingers froze mid-motion. Slowly, she turned, and there he was. Dr. Ethan Cross, the man she had loved, left, and never stopped dreaming about. The man whose eyes, those impossible gray-blue eyes, now stared not at her, but at the little boy sleeping on the bed, the boy who had those same eyes. Ethan's gaze flicked from her to the child again, a slow, dawning horror tightening his jaw. "I was told the attending needed a consult on a pediatric case," he said, voice low, almost controlled. "I didn't know it was you." Julia's throat locked. She couldn't breathe, couldn't speak. 5 years of running, hiding, surviving, all of it disintegrated under the weight of his stare. "Ethan," she whispered. He looked at her then, fully, and it was like being burned alive. 5 years ago, he'd been everything. They met in college, both studying medicine, both too ambitious to notice the world beyond their books, until a single late-night anatomy lab turned into laughter. Coffee, and then love. She'd fallen for the way he listened, the way he looked at her like she was the only person in the room. He'd said she made him forget the noise of the world. They'd made plans. Internships, residencies, marriage someday. But someday shattered when his family found out who she was. The scholarship girl from nowhere. His father had cornered her at a charity gala, all smooth smiles and cold words. "He has a future. Don't ruin it." She'd ignored it at first, until she overheard Ethan himself arguing with his mother. "I can't have a family right now. Not with residency coming up. I need focus." The words had gutted her. A week later, she found out she was pregnant, and she'd left before he could find out. Now, staring at him across the sterile white room, all she could think was that fate had a vicious sense of humor. "Your son?" Ethan's voice broke the silence. He stepped closer to the bed, his doctor's mask slipping into place, but his eyes flicked over every detail. The boy's tousled dark hair, the same small dimple that appeared when he smiled in his sleep. "Yes," Julia managed, clutching the edge of the bed rail. He had a high fever. I didn't know it was your hospital." "His name?" "Lucas." Ethan knelt beside the bed, his large hand hovering inches from the child's arm. "How old is he?" Her pulse spiked. "Julia." His tone sharpened. "How old is he?" She couldn't lie. Not now, not to him. "He's 5. The air fractured. Ethan froze, every muscle in his body turning to stone. Slowly he looked up at her, and she saw it, the math clicking into place, the memory flashing behind his eyes. 5 years. He rose to his full height. 5, she nodded. 5 years, he repeated. "You disappeared 5 years ago." Julia's lips parted, but the words refused to come. "Why are you crying, Mommy?" Lucas stirred, his little voice groggy and soft. She brushed a tear from her cheek. "It's nothing, sweetheart. Go back to sleep." Ethan's jaw flexed. "Julia." She backed toward the door. "Not here, please." But he moved faster, blocking her path. "That's my son, isn't he?" Her silence was answer enough. "God," he whispered, dragging a hand through his hair, voice shaking now with fury barely contained. "You kept my son from me? I thought, for 5 years?" He took a step closer, anger sparking in every word. "You thought what, Julia? That I didn't deserve to know he existed? You made it clear you didn't want this life." She snapped, the words tearing out of her before she could stop them. "I heard you, Ethan. You said you couldn't have a family, not then. And your father, he made sure I understood my place." "My father?" Ethan's voice dropped, dangerous. "What did he do?" She looked away. "He offered me money to leave. Said I'd ruin you, and I was terrified. I didn't want to trap you or destroy your future, so I left." He stared at her, disbelief carving deep lines into his face. "You decided for both of us." She swallowed hard. "I thought I was doing the right thing." "The right thing?" He let out a sharp laugh, bitter and broken. The right thing would have been trusting me. Silence fell, thick and unbearable. Lucas's quiet breathing filled the room. Finally, Ethan spoke again, voice barely above a whisper. 5 years, Julia. First steps, first words, birthdays. You took all of that from me. I know. Her voice cracked. And I live with that every single day. He turned toward the bed, his fury fading into something rawer, heavier. He looked at the child again, softer this time, the weight of lost time pressing down on him. He looks like you, he murmured. Julia's throat tightened. He has your laugh. He closed his eyes, pain slicing through the air. When he opened them again, resolve had replaced shock. I'm not walking away this time. She stiffened. Ethan, I'm his father, and I'm not letting you shut me out again. Please, she whispered. Don't make this harder. Harder? He stepped closer, lowering his voice. You think you get to keep deciding what's best for everyone? No, not anymore. Tears blurred her vision. He's all I have. His reply was quiet, steady, and absolute. Then we'll do this together, whether you like it or not. She wanted to argue, to push him away again, but something inside her broke instead. Maybe it was exhaustion. Maybe it was the truth she'd buried for too long. She sank into the nearest chair, trembling. He's your son, Ethan. He exhaled sharply, as if he'd been holding that breath for 5 years. When he finally spoke, the words were stripped of anger, only grief remaining. You should have told me. I was 19, scared, alone. You were about to start your residency. I thought if you knew, you'd give it all up for us, and I couldn't live with that guilt. He knelt in front of her. You took my choice away. Her lips trembled. I know. They stayed like that. 2 people drowning in a silence too heavy for words. A soft cough interrupted them. Lucas had woken again, small hands rubbing sleep from his eyes. Mommy? She wiped her face quickly and smiled through tears. Hey, sweetheart. He blinked at Ethan. Who's that? Ethan's voice was low, steady. I'm a friend of your mom's. Lucas tilted his head. You have eyes like mine. The words hit Ethan like a blade. His throat worked, no sound coming out. He looked at Julia, whose expression was pleading, desperate. Lucas yawned and sank back into the pillow, muttering softly, I prayed for a daddy. Ethan stood there, motionless, something inside him fractured. Julia turned away, pressing her hand to her mouth to stifle a sob. Without another word, Ethan walked out of the room, the echo of his footsteps disappearing down the corridor. But the promise in his voice lingered. This wasn't over. Not by a long shot. And for the first time in 5 years, Julia realized she wasn't the only one living with ghosts. Ethan showed up at her apartment 3 days later. Julia opened the door, heart hammering. He stood in the hallway, dark jeans, black shirt unbuttoned at the collar, sleeves rolled up. No doctor's coat this time, just Ethan, taller, sharper, angrier. He didn't wait for an invitation. We need to talk. I said I needed time. You've had 5 years of time. He walked past her, stopping when he saw the toys scattered on the floor, the faded drawings taped to the fridge. His gaze landed on one, a family of 3 stick figures, all with the same blue eyes. Ethan's jaw clenched. He knows? No, not yet. He turned to her. He deserves to. Julia crossed her arms. You can't just show up here and start giving orders. You have no idea what our life is like. Then tell me, he said quietly, or let me see for myself. Her silence was his answer. I want time with him, Ethan continued. I'm not asking. I'm telling you. Julia's shoulders sagged. He barely knows you. Then let me fix that. The first meeting was at the park. Lucas ran ahead toward the swings, sunlight catching in his hair. Ethan followed, uncertain, his confidence in the OR useless here. Julia stood back, arms folded, every nerve on edge. Lucas looked up at him. Mommy says you're her friend. Are you my friend too? Ethan knelt to eye level. Yeah, I'd like to be. Lucas grinned. You can push me on the swing. Ethan hesitated, then smiled for the first time in days. I think I can handle that. Julia watched as Ethan pushed the swing gently, Lucas's laughter cutting through the heavy air. The sound tore at her, because it was the same laugh Ethan used to have, carefree and alive. After a while, Lucas pointed to the ice cream cart. Can we get some? Ethan looked back at Julia for permission. She nodded. Lucas held both their hands as they walked, tiny fingers linking the two of them together like the past never happened. For a few fragile moments, it almost felt normal. When Ethan lifted Lucas onto his shoulders, Julia turned away, blinking fast. He missed 5 years, but in 10 minutes, he looked like he'd been there all along. That night, Julia found Ethan outside her apartment building, leaning against his car. You followed us home? I wanted to make sure you got back safe. Don't do that again. He nodded but didn't move. He's incredible, Julia. Smart, kind. He loves space and dinosaurs just like I did. I know. His eyes darkened. You kept him from me. Don't start this again. He stepped closer. I missed everything. The first time he said your name. The first time he laughed. I missed it all. Julia looked down. You think I didn't? You think I didn't wish every single day you were there? Then why didn't you tell me? Because you didn't want me, he flinched. That's not true. You said it yourself, she snapped. You couldn't have a family. You didn't want distractions. You wanted your career. I said that to my mother, Julia. I didn't mean it. Her voice softened. You were leaving for residency. I didn't want to be your burden. You were never a burden. They stood in silence, the city humming around them. Ethan finally said, I'm not going anywhere this time. You don't have to trust me yet, but let me be his father. She nodded once. Fine. Saturdays. I'll take whatever you give me. The weeks that followed were awkward, tense, and strangely beautiful. Ethan came every Saturday, sometimes bringing books, sometimes nothing but himself. Lucas always ran to the door when he heard the knock. They built Lego towers on the floor, played catch in the park, watched cartoons on the couch while Julia folded laundry. Sometimes Ethan cooked. His hands, skilled and precise, moved easily in her small kitchen. Lucas called it Dr. Dinner. One evening, Julia came home from a shift to find Ethan asleep on the couch. Lucas curled on his chest, both snoring softly. Something inside her broke again. But this time it wasn't pain. It was longing. Later that night, Ethan stood by the door putting on his jacket. He's special, he said quietly. He's yours. Ethan looked at her, the distance between them thinning. He's ours. Julia's breath caught. The silence that followed was loaded, trembling, dangerous. She turned away first. Good night, Ethan. He started helping more than she asked. Paying off the overdue electric bill, fixing the leaking faucet, leaving groceries at her door. I don't need charity, she told him. It's not charity. I take care of what's mine. She hated how those words made her chest ache. One Sunday, she found him sitting on the floor with Lucas, drawing rockets. Lucas looked up. Can Ethan come to my school thing tomorrow? Julia hesitated. Ethan smiled gently. If your mom says yes, she exhaled. Okay, but sit in the back. The next day, Lucas ran onto the stage wearing cardboard wings. Ethan sat still, eyes shining as the boy recited his lines, voice trembling but proud. When it ended, he whispered, He's amazing. Julia's throat tightened. He's your son. But the peace didn't last. A week later, Ethan's mother showed up at Julia's apartment. Perfect hair, perfect pearls, same sharp smile. I see you've come crawling back into Ethan's life. Julia froze. I didn't crawl anywhere. You had your chance, Miss Hart. You left. Stay gone. Before Julia could respond, Ethan appeared behind his mother, voice steel. Enough, Mother. Ethan, I said enough. His tone was cold, final. You don't get to threaten her again. Mrs. Cross's expression hardened. She trapped you once. Don't let her do it again. Ethan stepped between them. She didn't trap me. You did. Julia stood there, stunned, watching the boy she'd loved, become the man she'd always hoped he would. After his mother left, Ethan turned to her. My family had no right. What they did to you, it ends now. Julia's voice shook. You really didn't know? No. I never knew they paid you to leave. I thought you walked away. Tears blurred her vision. I thought you didn't care. He moved closer. I looked for you. For 2 years, Julia. You vanished. I was scared, she whispered. I thought, if I told you about the baby, you'd feel trapped. He reached out, fingers brushing her cheek. You should have known better. I would have stayed. Her tears fell freely now. I know, Ethan's voice was hoarse. I missed you every damn day. For a heartbeat, she forgot how to breathe. The air between them pulsed. History, regret, desire all colliding in one dangerous moment. Then Lucas's voice from the bedroom. Mommy? She stepped back instantly, wiping her face. He's awake. Ethan nodded, the moment breaking apart. But the next day, fate didn't give them a choice. Lucas collapsed at preschool. High fever, fainting. By the time Julia reached the hospital, Ethan was already there. He lifted their son into his arms, voice calm, but eyes wild. He's burning up. Julia followed him through the ER, memories crashing into the present. Hours blurred into chaos. IV lines, blood tests, doctors murmuring. When Lucas finally stabilized, they sat side by side outside the ICU, hands trembling, eyes hollow. Neither spoke for a long time. Then Julia whispered, I can't lose him. You won't. His hand found hers, steady and warm. Not while I'm breathing, tears streamed down her face. I never stopped loving you, Ethan. His head turned slowly, eyes dark with emotion. Then why did you leave me? Because I thought it was the only way to protect you. He swallowed hard. You broke my heart. You broke mine too. For the first time in years, the words didn't hurt. They healed. He leaned closer, forehead brushing hers. We can't change the past. No, but maybe we can fix what's left. Her breath hitched. What about your family? I don't care. His thumb grazed her jaw. I'm done letting anyone decide for me. Their lips met, hesitant, trembling, but real. The first kiss in 5 years tasted like everything they'd lost and everything they still wanted. Then a nurse appeared in the doorway. Mr. and Mrs. Cross? He's awake. They broke apart, breathless, stunned. Inside, Lucas sat up in bed, pale but smiling. Mommy, Ethan, are you and Mommy going to be together now? Julia froze. Ethan's hand tightened around hers. We'll talk about that soon. Buddy, he said gently as they stood there, mother, father, and child. The world finally stopped spinning. For the first time since she ran, Julia didn't feel alone. And for the first time since she lost her, Ethan felt home again. Lucas was released from the hospital 3 days later. Julia carried him home, exhausted but grateful, and Ethan followed behind, refusing to leave their side. He stayed through the night, on the couch, awake, watching over them like he was guarding what he'd nearly lost. By morning, she found him in the kitchen making pancakes, sleeves rolled up, black shirt clinging to his shoulders, sunlight catching in his hair. Lucas sat on the counter giggling as Ethan flipped the pancakes with exaggerated flair. Julia stopped in the doorway, heart twisting at the sight. For a moment, it was almost too easy to imagine this was their life. Mornings like this, laughter, the smell of syrup and warmth instead of hospital corridors and regrets. Ethan glanced up and smiled faintly. He says I'm better at this than you. Traitor, she muttered, kissing Lucas's forehead. He laughed. Mommy burns them, Ethan grinned, sliding a plate toward her. Then it's settled. I'm in charge of breakfast from now on. She sat, unsure whether to argue or smile. You can't just keep inserting yourself into our lives. Yes, I can, he said easily, setting a mug of coffee beside her. Because I should have been here all along, she sighed. You make it sound simple. It is simple. I have a son. I have you, and I'm not losing either again. His words were quiet, but they struck something deep inside her. For a while, things were peaceful. Too peaceful. Ethan spent every evening at their apartment after work. He helped with homework, read bedtime stories, and kissed Lucas's forehead before leaving. The child's joy grew every day, and Julia's walls weakened with every smile she saw exchanged between father and son. But calm never lasted long where Ethan's family was concerned. 2 weeks later, a courier delivered a thick envelope to her door. Inside, legal papers. A petition for custody. Ethan Cross's name printed across the top, but she knew instantly it wasn't from him. Her phone rang. Ethan. "Julia, don't panic," he said before she could speak. "My father went behind my back. He thinks you'll run again." Her hands shook. "Maybe I should. Don't you dare," he said, voice sharp. "That's exactly what he wants. He'll take Lucas from me, Ethan. I can't lose my son. You won't, and you won't lose me either." "Not this time." She pressed the phone to her chest, trembling, fighting tears. Later that evening, Ethan came to her apartment. She was packing. The suitcase lay open on the bed, clothes thrown in with shaking hands. "Julia, don't try to stop me." He stepped inside, shutting the door behind him. "I told you not to run. I have to protect him. From who? From me? From them," she whispered. "Your family. They have power, money, lawyers. I don't care." His voice rose, rough with emotion. "You think I'd let them take him from you? From us?" Her breath caught. "You can't fight them. Watch me." He closed the distance between them, grabbing her wrists gently but firmly. "Don't you understand? You're not alone anymore. I'm done letting anyone keep us apart. My father, your fear, the past. None of it matters now." Tears welled in her eyes. "I can't go through this again, Ethan. You won't have to. Because I'm not leaving you." Her walls cracked completely. "Why? After everything I did, why would you still want me?" His answer was simple. "Because I never stopped." She crumpled against him, and he caught her. For a long time, neither spoke. The next day, Ethan confronted his family. He walked into his parents' estate, past the manicured gardens and marble floors, past the staff who looked away when they saw his face. His father sat in the study, papers spread before him. "Tell me you didn't file for custody." Mr. Cross didn't look up. "It's for the boy's stability." "It's control," Ethan snapped. "You tried to buy Julia off once, now you're trying to steal my son?" "You're being emotional." "I'm being a father," Ethan said. "You had your chance to run my life. That ends today." His father's tone hardened. "You're making a mistake. That woman ruined your career once. You'll regret—" Ethan slammed his hand on the desk. "The only thing I regret is letting you decide what love I was allowed to have." The older man leaned back, silent for the first time. "I'm choosing my family," Ethan said quietly. "Julia, Lucas, that's where I belong." When he left the house, he didn't look back. That evening, he returned to Julia's apartment. She opened the door before he could knock twice. Her eyes were red. "What did you do?" "I told them the truth, which is?" He stepped closer, voice low. "That I love you. That I always have." Her breath caught. "You can't just say that like it fixes everything." "It doesn't fix it," he said. "But it starts something new." She shook her head, tears gathering again. "What if it falls apart again?" "Then we fix it together," he said. "But I'm not giving up on us." He dropped to one knee. Julia froze. "Ethan," he pulled a small box from his pocket. "Marry me, not because of Lucas, because I can't spend another day without you." Her hands trembled. "I don't know if I can trust this. You don't have to. Just trust me." Silence stretched between them. Then Lucas appeared in the doorway, holding his stuffed dinosaur. "Mommy, why are you crying?" She smiled through tears. "Because Ethan said something very nice." Ethan looked at the boy. "What would you think if your mommy and I got married?" Lucas beamed. "Then we'd be a family." Julia covered her face, sobbing. Ethan rose, gently pulling her into his arms. "Say yes, Jules." She nodded against his chest. "Yes." The kiss that followed wasn't desperate. It was inevitable. The kind born from years of longing and loss, from forgiveness that had taken too long to arrive. That night, they didn't sleep. They talked for hours, about everything they'd missed. The baby years, the nights she'd cried alone, The years he'd searched for her in every city he visited. And when silence finally fell, they found each other again in the dark, slowly, reverently, as if rediscovering something sacred. When dawn came, she whispered, "It feels like coming home." He kissed her forehead. "You are home." Weeks later, they met his family again, but this time, together. Ethan stood with Julia's hand in his, Lucas perched on his hip. "This is my family," Ethan said simply. "If you can't accept that, we'll build one without you." His mother's eyes softened first. "You look happy, Ethan." "I am." She nodded slowly, the fight leaving her. "Then that's all that matters." For the first time, Julia felt peace instead of fear. Months passed. The wedding was small, just friends, a few colleagues, and one ecstatic little boy in a tiny suit who refused to stop grinning. They chose the same park where Ethan had first pushed Lucas on the swing. When the vows ended, Lucas tugged Julia's dress. "Mommy, can I call him Daddy now?" Her eyes filled again. She looked at Ethan, smiling. "I think you should ask him." Lucas turned. "Can I, Daddy?" Ethan's voice broke. "Yeah, buddy, you can." The crowd laughed through tears. Julia's heart finally felt full. Epilogue. 1 year later, morning sunlight poured into their kitchen. The house was warm with the smell of coffee and crayons. Lucas sat at the table coloring while Julia, round with her second pregnancy, leaned against the counter. Ethan came up behind her, sliding his hands around her waist, pressing a kiss to her neck. "You're glowing," he murmured. "I'm tired." He chuckled. "That's glowing for you." Lucas held up his drawing. "It's our family. There's me, you, Mommy, and the baby." Ethan crouched down, smiling. "Looks perfect." Julia watched them, eyes shining. "Sometimes I still can't believe we found our way back." He looked up at her. "Some love stories don't end. They just take the long way home." She smiled, pressing a hand to his cheek. "Every day I'm grateful I walked into that ER." He kissed her, slow and certain. Outside, Lucas's laughter echoed through the garden. Inside, two people who'd once been broken stood whole again. Love hadn't gotten it right the first time. But when it came back, it stayed. Love doesn't always get it right the first time, but when it's real, it finds a way back. Thank you for listening to this emotional journey. Rate this story 1 to 10 and tell us, do you believe in second chances? Subscribe for more heartwarming romance stories.